Hello, guys. Welcome back to TFD with another banger. Now, look here. The Dallas Wings might be making some serious noise this offseason. Reports are coming out suggesting that the Wings could be looking to sign a 3-time WNBA All-Star to help out none other than Paige Bueckers. And yes, that's right. The article features a picture of Kelsey Mitchell, so it has already started. Now, I almost didn't want to talk about this one, but here's the thing. This isn't just some random rumor floating around social media. This comes straight from Sports Illustrated, and when SI starts writing about a potential move, you know they're trying to light up the off-season fire. So, while it might seem speculative, this could be a preview of what's really brewing behind the scenes. From a Dallas Wings perspective, this could be a move aimed at giving Paige Bueckers a strong veteran presence to work with. But of course, what's catching everyone's attention is how these types of stories always seem to circle back to Caitlin Clark. It's like no matter what team or player gets mentioned, somehow the narrative turns into who can compete with Clark or who can outshine Clark. And to be honest, that part gets tiring. Still, it got me thinking, what does all of this mean for the upcoming WNBA offseason? Because if rumors like this are already surfacing, then we're in for one of the busiest, most dramatic off-seasons in recent memory. Now, let's talk about Kelsey Mitchell for a second, because she absolutely deserves it. Look, when people mention her name in these kinds of conversations, it's not out of nowhere. Kelsey had an unbelievable season. She's been one of the most consistent scorers in the league, and I've said it over and over since the middle of last year. Kelsey Mitchell is the best shooting guard in the WNBA, period. And her selection to the All-WNBA first team was well-deserved. But when people say Kelsey Mitchell needs to leave Caitlin Clark, I kind of disagree. I actually think those two complement each other really well. When they play in sync, their offensive flow is hard to stop. Kelsey's quick release and fearless scoring, paired with Clark's court vision and passing, can make for one of the most dangerous backcourts in the league. Of course, Kelsey has her flaws. She can sometimes drift into what we call hero ball, trying to do everything herself, but that's part of her competitive nature. Every great player has that edge. Still, I think she's more effective when she's the number 2 option. Not because she isn't good enough to be the top dog, but because she thrives when the defense isn't entirely focused on her. That's where Caitlin Clark's presence actually helps. And let's not forget Aaliyah Boston in that mix. Depending on the matchup, she could just as easily take over a game. So while Sports Illustrated might just be stirring the pot right now, one thing is clear. The WNBA offseason about to get spicy. Deals, trades, rumors, reunions, it's all coming. So buckle up, because we're just getting started. Stay tuned, folks. This offseason could change everything. Now, I'm not sure if it says it exactly in the article I was reading. I honestly can't remember. But a lot of people are talking about how Kelsey Mitchell wants to leave Indiana because she needs to get away from Caitlin Clark to fully let her light shine. That's been the narrative floating around social media and fan forums for a while now. But here's the thing about that, and this is what a lot of people don't seem to think through. If Kelsey Mitchell truly wants to be the number 1 option on a team, and that's her main motivation for leaving, she's not going to Dallas to play with Paige Bueckers. Because let's be real, Paige is going to be the number 1 option in Dallas for her entire career. There's no debate there. Paige Bueckers didn't come into this league to be a secondary piece. She's a primary scorer, a franchise face, and someone who will take the most shots every single night, just like Caitlin Clark does in Indiana. So if Kelsey's whole motivation is to be the star, going to Dallas doesn't solve anything. It's the same setup, just with a different player next to her. Paige Bueckers takes a lot of shots. She became the number 1 option at UConn almost instantly, and she's carried that mentality into the pros. What wasn't a good fit in Dallas was Arike Ogunbowale and Paige Bueckers. 100% not a good fit. Those two playing styles clashed because both need the ball in their hands and thrive as volume scorers. Now, what I want to get into, and this leads right into that discussion, is what's actually going to happen across the league this offseason. Because when you zoom out, Kelsey Mitchell's situation is just one piece of a much bigger picture. She's a free agent again, obviously, but she's not alone. A lot of players are hitting free agency. And that's what makes this offseason absolutely wild. Remember, the league still needs to finalize the new CBA, and on top of that, we have 2 expansion teams coming in. So you've got massive roster movement on the horizon, and at the same time, we're dealing with uncertainty about the new rules that will shape those rosters. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that teams will still be able to protect 6 players like before. We don't have the official expansion draft rules yet, but that's what people are assuming. Now, others are saying, oh, it might be fewer, maybe only 4 or 5, because 2 teams are joining. But man, if teams can only protect 4 players, that's brutal. Because you have to remember, what Golden State did this year was not normal. The Valkyries being competitive for a playoff spot as an expansion team, that's not supposed to happen. That's the anomaly, not the expectation. Most expansion teams struggle their first couple of seasons while building chemistry and talent. So these 2 new franchises, whether that's Toronto, Portland, or whoever, they're not supposed to come out and dominate right away. But what complicates things even further is the CBA discussion around roster size. There's talk about increasing to 14-player rosters, which sounds great in theory, but that has ripple effects. You've got a ton of veterans hitting free agency, and teams are going to have to make tough calls about who to keep and who to let walk. And here's where it gets tricky. If so many players are free agents, who are the expansion teams even drafting from? Think about that. If half the league's contracts are up, there might not even be enough players under contract to make an expansion draft meaningful. Take the Fever, for example. Correct me if I'm wrong, I didn't look this up before recording because I didn't think I'd go this deep into this topic, but I think Indiana only has 3 or 4 players currently under contract. If that's the case, then all these expansion protection rules might not even matter because there aren't 6 players to protect. So then what do? Are the expansion teams going to have to draft mostly free agents just to fill out a roster? But then there's no guarantee they can even sign those free agents. That's the tricky part. Teams can protect 4 or 5 players, but if the rest of the roster is full of expiring deals, it doesn't make much difference who you leave unprotected. And that's where this loops back around to Kelsey Mitchell. Her decision isn't just about fit or playing style, it's about timing. The CBA, the expansion draft, and the new salary cap numbers are all going to impact what her options actually look like. Now, some people are saying that pairing Mitchell with Bueckers in Dallas could be lethal. Sure, the Wings would absolutely improve with that backcourt, but from Kelsey's perspective, does that actually help her? Because if you're a shooting guard who's already gone through a season learning how to share the spotlight with a generational playmaker like Caitlin Clark, do you really want to jump right back into that with Paige Bueckers? If Kelsey's goal is to win a championship, the Fever are already a rising contender. She knows her role there, she's comfortable with Clark, and she's got a front office committed to surrounding them with the right pieces. But if her goal is to be the face of a franchise, the number 1 option, then she's got to find a team where she's clearly that player. Because let's be honest, she's not going to Dallas to be the number 2 option behind Paige. It doesn't make sense. The Wings would get better, but Kelsey wouldn't necessarily benefit. The article did mention that several suitors are expected to pursue her in free agency, and returning to Indiana is still a strong possibility. Dallas might make an offer, especially with Arka Ogunbowale also hitting free agency, but there's a lot of moving parts here. So here's what I'm planning. I'm going to do a deep dive video breaking down every team, who's under contract, who's a free agent, and how expansion could shake all of that up. And of course, I'll focus on the Fever because most of you watching this are Indiana fans or Caitlin Clark supporters who want to see how this all plays out. But bottom line, I just don't see Kelsey Mitchell going to Dallas to play second fiddle again. If she truly wants to win, Indiana gives her the best shot. And if she wants to be the number 1 option, there are probably better destinations than pairing up with another ball-dominant guard, like Paige Bueckers. Anyway, that's my take. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think Kelsey Mitchell should stay with the Fever or test free agency somewhere else? And as always, do me a favor, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned, because the WNBA offseason is about to get crazy.